Wednesday, December 21. The Executive Judgment. During the Middle Ages, there was a strong tendency to portray God as a severe, punitive judge. Today, the tendency is to describe him as a loving, permissive father who never punishes his children. Yet, love without justice will turn into chaos and lawlessness, and justice without love will become oppression and subjugation. God's judging process is a perfect blend of justice and mercy, both of which derive from his unconditional love. The executive judgment is God's final and irreversible punitive intervention in human history. Limited punitive judgments occurred, for example, in the casting out of Satan and his rebellious angels from heaven, Revelation 12:7-12. The driving out of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, Genesis 3, the Great Flood, Genesis 6-8, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Genesis 19 and Jude 7, the death of the firstborn in Egypt, Exodus 11 and Exodus 12, and the death of Ananias and Sapphira, Acts 5:1-11. So it is no surprise that there also will be an executive judgment of the wicked at the end of human history. Read 2 Peter 2:4-6 and 2 Peter 3:10-13. How do these texts help us understand the nature of the final executive judgment? How do they imply the idea of completion of judgment as opposed to its going on forever, which would be a perversion of justice and not an expression of it? 2 Peter 2:4-6. For if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood on the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them to destruction, making them an example to those who afterward would live ungodly. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar, the elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything done in it will be laid bare. Since everything will be destroyed in this way, what kind of people ought you to be? You ought to live holy and godly lives, as you look forward to the day of God and Spirit's coming. That day will bring about the destruction of the heavens by fire, and the elements will melt in the heat. But in keeping with his promise, we're looking forward to a new heaven and a new earth where righteousness dwells. God's goodness and long forbearance, his patience and mercy exercised to his subjects will not hinder him from punishing the sinner who refused to be obedient to his requirement. It is not for a man, a criminal against God's holy law, pardoned only through the great sacrifice he made in giving his sons to die for the guilty because his law was changeless, to dictate to God. All that God could have done to save humanity from being eternally lost, he did, even at a great cost for himself. Those who are lost ultimately made choices that led them to this unfortunate end. The idea that God's judgment on the lost, even the annihilation of the lost, as opposed to eternal torment, goes against the character of a loving God is simply wrong. It's God's love, and God's love alone, that demands justice as well. What does the cross itself teach us about what God was willing to do in order to save everyone who would be saved?